Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Setting the theme for October, the fall season in North America. I live in India. We don't really have a fall season. No leaves falling the way it beautifully does in North America, especially areas that I've seen in maybe like northeastern United States, Canada for the most part. But I love watching October falls. I wouldn't say October, but fall themed movies during this time just to get in that spirit of, there's Halloween, um, there's both the Canadian Thanksgiving and the American Thanksgiving. Canadian Thanksgiving in October, and the American one, which is still to come in November. So one of the movies that I was researching to try to see if I've watched it before, if I've never watched it before, something that I do want to review. And I realized I have never watched this film, which is very famous. A lot of people love this movie. It is a romantic comedy, and it's called, of course, as you can see from the title, When Harry Met Sally. Now, came out in 1989. I've never watched this movie. Surprisingly, because I used to watch a lot of Meg Ryan movies. I still do like her a lot, although she hasn't been in any noteworthy roles for a very long time. But she was at one point in time America's sweetheart and Hollywood sweetheart as well. Um, anyway, yeah, coming back to that, and it's also one of the only films which I've watched with Billy Crystal in the lead role. I've watched really a couple of movies of Billy Crystal's. So both a comedian who I really enjoyed, especially used to do all these Grammy hosting and all that stuff. Back in the time when we didn't really have cable and we had very few options for cable, Billy Crystal being the host of Grammy was something that we used to always take for granted. Yeah, so Meg Ryan, you also have Billy Crystal. Who else do we have in the movie? Carrie Fisher, very surprising. I did not know she was in this movie. I didn't do any sort of check before I actually watched this movie. I just know about this movie that it's very, very popular. Of course, and it's got a huge fan following. Yeah, that's about it. Bruno Kirby plays Jess. Stephen Ford plays Joe. I don't really know any of the other characters. So basically, it's set first in 1977, when they both, Harry and Sally, actually meet in a university in Chicago. They're going to New York. He needs a ride. She needs a companion on the ride home. One of her closest friends is dating Harry, and they're supposed to be in love. But in the series of questions that he asks while they're on there, and there's a football match going on as well. That's why I'm looking up. She gets the feeling he's hitting on her. They part in not the nicest of circumstances, but one of the questions he does shoot to her is, are men and women capable of being friends when they're not in love, because he feels that it's never possible. And yeah, that is a big question which we've asked quite a lot, and I believe yes, you can. Although, to be seeing frank, there are a couple of my close, really female friends who I wanted to also, you know. So, but there are others who I don't. I just see them as really good friends, like sisters almost. Anywho, then we catch up with these two couples, with these two. They are with other people over the next 12 years. We see them 5 years later from the first meeting, 1982. They meet at an airport. They slowly start becoming friends. They start to have this. I'm not going to go through the entire storyline, but they slowly start to have a little bit of attraction towards each other. When they split up with their significant others. Harry goes through a divorce. Sally meets a former friend, a college mate of his. They're actually together for a while, but he doesn't want to have kids, and she wants to start a family. So therefore, they decide to break up. And then a few years later, she finds out that he's hooked up with another woman, and they're getting married. And he didn't want to get married. She wanted a family. And then he decides to get married to this woman and start a family with her, and that really annoys her. That is when they first have Harry, and he comes to her to console her, and they kiss, and they do end up having sex, but then they end up fighting again. And it is exactly 12 years later on a New Year's Eve party where a couple of their friends have, invited them, when he Harry doesn't initially come, but then he realizes in age-old romantic movie style that she's the one for me and I can't live without her. So he comes, he addresses it, and yes, after that they fall in love. Throughout the film, you see these older couples, couples mainly in their 70s and maybe even 60, I don't think 60s, but possibly 70s and 80s, who talk about how they actually met and their long relationship. And towards the end, we see Harry and Sally actually mentioning it. Although, to be honest, Meg Ryan does look quite young for him. In the beginning of the movie, Billy Crystal does try and look a little bit younger with that different hairstyle. I don't know if it's a wig or something, but yeah. So Billy Crystal is 74 and Meg Ryan is 60. That's a 14-year difference. But yeah, he just looks kind of much more older than her. Of course, that's not a big deal in Hollywood, I guess, the number of years. And to be honest, a lot of relationships have lasted a very long time, even if there's a big gap between the man and the woman, vice versa as well. So, who am I to judge? So I've even gone on a date a couple of years ago, almost 2020. 2019 and 2020, I've been on a date with a girl who's actually almost 20 years younger than me. So I'm not one to judge. But of course, I wasn't planning on, it was just like a companionship thing, and just wanted to have someone to be around with. That's it, basically. My hair is a mess. I badly need a haircut. Hopefully, fingers crossed, I will go this weekend, get my haircut, and maybe even go and grab a couple of beers. Anywho, that's basically Harry Met Sally. It is funny, it is sweet. Although, to be honest, I can't really see Billy Crystal as a romantic star, but he is apparently in this movie. This is a very, very popular movie. It basically, it did receive a British Academy Film Award, or the director did, and Oscar nomination, Writers Guild Award of America. Writers Guild of America Award. It's called one of the funniest 100 movies. I don't really think it is all that great, to be honest. I mean, I guess I might have built it up quite a lot in my mind, and because of that, I was a bit disappointed, especially because Meg Ryan makes such a great pair with Tom Hanks, and that's kind of what I was looking for, and I'm really missing it. To be honest, but this film is good enough to watch multiple times. Definitely made on a budget of 16 million back in 1989. It made 92.8 million at the box office. I will give this movie, if you're a big fan of this movie, I only give it a 7.5 out of 10. Thank you. Have a good night.